I have written down that you guys should do a Bill Nye episode. Just talking about Bill Nye and atheism. I don't remember why I wrote that down, but it seemed like a good idea.
Well, there are a few of those scientists, him and Neil deGrasse Tyson, for example, that don't... We've talked about this briefly. We haven't centered an episode around
you
it.
can just have a thank you to the scientists.
The problem is, well, I mean, it's not a problem because it's not like we have to talk exclusively about atheism.
By the way,
that's not their point.
A picture of
they're anti-science. They're not.
Well, it seems to me Bill Nye actually had opinions on atheism, but maybe I'm wrong. I could totally be wrong.
He is an atheist. Like he has overtly said it, if I'm not mistaken. Neil deGrasse Tyson
basically goes to say, "I will never call myself an atheist."
Yeah, it's too.
And then I'm gonna distract you by telling you how awesome supernovas
or
whatever.
Science or something and waving my arms around. I believe that. Also, something else I had written down is that you should do some sort of talk to a scientist or interview with a scientist and take something like that peanut butter video, the peanut butter spontaneous.
Oh yeah.
And then just find a scientist. I think about my brother when I talk Ripley. Jeez, Louise. And go to a scientist and be like,
I just want to videotape his reaction. Just that's it. It's just
do
one
that.
of those.
Videotape the reaction and then be like, and then just have a segment with them being like, will you take 20 minutes or 15 minutes or 10 minutes or 5 minutes and just talk about, really simply, the science. So anyone who sees this video, we can next say, okay, well here's a really simple explanation explaining why that is totally ridiculous. Because when they lay this stuff out, it's just like that video, it's like they didn't cut to a guy with crazy eyeballs and big hair and he didn't look crazy and he didn't scream at you. He was like, this is really how it is, you guys. And it's like, if you don't know any better, you absolutely believe him.
Yeah.
Which is why if you can find a scientist or someone with some sort of scientific background and a degree to back it up, just be like, hey, here's so-and-so, and they're going to talk for 5 minutes about why this is nonsense. And then you can add in little pictures or something or whatever the hell you want to do.
Yeah.
And I think that would be a great segment. It could tie in really well with, atheism, etc. And those are my thoughts.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Goodbye. Just leave. What?
That's
take her dog.
I'm out. Drop.
Drop the mic. Or Mac in this case.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop my Mac. That is under all my rage notes about Remember Me, of which there are so many.
Eoarchean era.
God bless you.
The earliest known life on Earth existed between...
Did you get the link that I sent you guys?
I did.
I did, just now.
Okay. It's a meme, but I forget. I don't know what it's called, but they always do it for video game companies where they're like, all right, gamers are complaining about this, and then you'll have two people saying a stupid idea, and then the third person always says an amazingly awesome idea, and then the boss gets pissed and throws the third guy out of the window. So
that was.
I don't know that I understand this comic specifically.
You've never seen it?
That's how he kills Mace Windu.
Oh, I forgot about that. Well, yeah. I haven't seen it. Seriously?
Huh?
You think I am?
Not a nerd.
It's true. I am one of those foretold fake geek girls. I actually don't know anything about this shirt, for instance.
I like Pokemon.
Jin Poco, buy me. Let's be friends. Destroy the American Catholic government.
Oh, boardroom suggestion.
You have very large American penis. Is gargantuan.
It's so big. It's so big.
Well, thanks.
I haven't seen that one in so long.
Oh yeah, here's the original one. The original one was
Send
this.
it to me.
All right, team. If we want the Wii U to be a successful entertainment platform, we need to include key entertainment features: TV compatibility, Netflix, DVD playback, and then the DVD playback gets thrown out the window.
Yeah, they didn't do that on either of their generations, and I don't know why.
Then
again, the Wii U was just a train wreck. People forget, Xbox, for all of its faults their console will be playable. Their games will exist.
Oh, that's adorable. I don't think the Wii U was awful. I just thought I need this. And
the
nobody
Wii U
was
is
using it.
So bad.
Is it?
It's underpowered.
Hey, but Bayonetta's going to be on it.
The tablet, unless they fix it, the tablet gets 3 hours of battery life.
Yeah, and it's just the cheapest plasticky piece of shit. That's one accidental ass crunching away from being destroyed. Abiogenesis. That's fun times. Anyway. So I, again, would be curious. You can do it in a written format. That's fine. You and I could write an article or something.
Yeah, I'm down. Let's make this shit
we could have a discussion and then simply post
And that's
editing.
like, I'm totally fine with that. I just need like, this is kind of on the spot for me. That's all.
That's fine. I mean, we don't need you, Mary.
No.
But no, my general interest is, given what you believe the current issues women face, do you think those are reflective? Do you think those are sort of the natural outcome of the sort of religious authority and institutions which have consistently
Well, I don't
denied
think there's
women?
really much of a doubt behind that, is there? I mean, like, so many
Well,
of
I'm
the
saying, do you think it's
decisions-
still relevant, more or less, like it
Like
was?
in the United States?
Well, I mean, here it's
Has
in
anyone
the
seen
West. I
anything
think,
about abortion recently? Anyone?
but it's not
What about
argued
Texas?
necessarily. But it's not argued on those grounds per se. It's never about women's rights. And that's the thing. Is don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
that's
it's
exactly
not,
what
but
it is.
that's absolutely where it comes from.
No, I know. But again, I just think you're in the know on all that more so than I am. So I'd be
Okay.
curious how you think today it's still impacting the current status of women, ignoring the blatant shit like Muslim honor killings and shit like that, because
So
women
we
are
can
property.
say in the United States if you wanted to.
The West. That's what
The
I was
West.
thinking.
Okay.
I mean, Europe's a little less. I mean, I think if you just look at things like maternity leave or paternity leave.
Well, that's
The
United
pairing
States
off of-
specifically is all fucked up.
Well, yeah, but like in Europe, it's not. Like, a lot of
Exactly.
European, it's like, oh yeah, no, like the mom will get 3 months and the dad will get like 6 weeks, as opposed to here where I think Best Buy gives you 2 if you're the father.
Gotcha.
You're like, oh, that doesn't seem like enough, but whatever. They also
You
get
just
6
need to
weeks
borrow
paid
your child.
vacation, so that's fine. Standard in Europe. Standard in Europe. 6 weeks paid fucking vacation.
It's the wrong time.
And they have so many holidays, man. Like where it's just expected. Like, oh yeah, everyone goes on holiday this week period in September, so nothing's open. So everyone just goes to Spain or Greece or wherever. Not Greece. Greece is a shithole now.
Also a Nazi party.
Hey, you guys know we tried this, right?
Yes, no, it didn't work out the first time. No, we're gonna do it right this time. That's so awful.
We're gonna update our racism.
Oh god.
Goddamn niggers. What? That was just while she was kicking.
Are you serious?
You dick.
No,
Oh, that is awesome.
you found some good
What,
porn, I
racism?
guess.
No, because of PlayStation Plus, we're gonna get Battlefield 3 for
Oh my
free.
god, are you guys really not preparing
I'm actually looking at
to think
things
stuff?
right now.
I'm really excited for Battlefield 3 because I wanted to buy it anyways.
Oh,
I'm
share
trying
it
to
with
get
me.
excited about a console in general.
I'm only gonna buy it when there's a game I have to have for it.
Like Caleb.
Yep.
Called it.
That is absolutely it. Okay, content brainstorm. There we go. I had a bunch of ideas written down, which we haven't touched in a while. Okay. That was for Randall, but we could bring that in.
I can't remember. Is Destiny going to be a PlayStation exclusive?
Have we talked much about the
I
fact
think
that
so, yeah.
the rationality of belief in God and how it's not
Yeah.
necessarily inconsistent? It's just that there will be certain, like, you can be a Christian and believe in God. It's not a problem. I mean, everybody, like,
Isn't that
and
kind of inherent in belief?
when I made it, it's not irrational to be a Christian who believes in God.
Oh.
That on its face is not problematic. Like, we're not arguing against the idea that, like, this is a stupid belief. God does serve explanatory purpose, blah, blah, blah. The problem is when you cash out the particulars that it becomes problematic, which is why the articles of faith to which you adhere are the problem points. Like,
Are you saying... I don't think I understand what you mean, because it sounds like you're saying God isn't the weird part, it's all the beliefs attached to God.
well, God's not problematic till you define it. And the more you define it, the more particulars you have, the easier it is to find contradictions.
So there is
poke
some
holes.
definition of God that you accept as a thing?
Well,
Let's say that. So God is
As long
God
as
is
God's
reality.
a purely provable entity?
Or God is simply the prime mover. That's the reason there's something rather than nothing.
or
Beyond
like
that,
it's backing up the definition of God. Like God
sorry,
is
that's
a
Aristotle.
God is a
Throw
supernatural
something at
being
you.
that we can literally say nothing else about.
Sorry.
You can't like
Well, no, you can say certain things.
the less you define about God, the easier it is to be like, well, that's can be rational.
Well, like,
I think what
you
you're
can
saying.
have like God is loving, powerful, and
Well, no, I think
knowing.
even
but
go.
when you want him to be infinitely of each of those, now you run into problems. So
Okay.
It's like it all depends on the particulars of your belief. So you can define God. You could say that God is a supernatural being, is the creator of all of this.
When you say he's all loving, you'd be like, well, why does he treat some people so poorly?
Yeah, but then you could say,
others,
well, maybe he can't stop everything. He's not all powerful. Like, that's not a problem. You can say he loves everyone and he wants to help, but he's incapable for one reason. You don't maybe I don't know why, but he cannot.
He can create the heavens and the earth, but not.
Yeah, he can't.
Not
stop
manipulate.
He can't stop 19 firefighters from getting killed in a flashover in Arizona.
So even if, and maybe I'm being way too literal in my understanding what you're saying. So even if people still, well, okay, I guess.
The idea is that you can't just immediately be like, belief in God is stupid. You can't just be like, belief in God is irrational on its face, because that.
Without defining it.
You have to define God first.
I think that kind of applies to everything.
Well, yes, but I think the idea is that it's the religions themselves that make God problematic. Because their particulars are the ones that we keep going, that's crap, that doesn't work, blah, blah, blah. And then, interestingly, it's like the rationality sort of pairs it back. So if you're going to continue to give rationality the right of way, you're going to say, okay, so I need to not define these certain characteristics because they seem to lead to contradictions or problems. So I keep more and more vaguely defining God. Eventually you get to a point where it's like, so what are we talking about? And it's an interesting way to be like, if you think rationality works and you want to try and have rationality and God, cohabitate, rationality has nowhere to go. Like you can't be partially rational. You can't be like, well, I'm just going to ignore these things. Like, no, you already aren't. You can't pick and choose. But God could have different defining characteristics that you could, and people have. That's why there's so many different descriptions of God, especially from like theologians and stuff, is because they're realizing, I have to cave on something. I have to change this. I have to change my understanding, tweak it to make it fit with this fact or this problem. Like St. Augustine was like, the reason that bad things happen to good people in the world, the problem of evil, the reason that exists is because although God is all-loving, all-powerful, and all-knowing, he has basically granted free will to us, and in the process has basically self-limited himself. He said, look, I'm not going to interfere. I'm going to give you true free choice.
So I could, but I'm just not going to?
Well, the idea is like, if your choices are truly free, I can't always be saving your ass. I can't always be stepping in to make sure that everything happens fine. Like, I will let you have this planet, and you will go about your humanly business. But the consequence of that is, if you act shittily to one another, then bad things are going to happen to one another. So I do love you. I created all of this, and I know what you're going to do. But if it's going to be a true, free little world that you live in, I have to self-limit myself, and I will not intervene.
And what's the philosophical problem with that?
No, but like that's, well, because people then, it seems like God's uncaring, or it doesn't explain natural disasters. So it's one possible thing, but a lot of people go, well, God's not limited in any way. God's infinite in every way. So he can't be limiting, even to himself. It's also the idea that God can't change. Because God's basically infinite in every way, so like how could he change? What could possibly... He's immutable, is the term. So God is always, and he always has been, always will be, in an ageless sense, loving and powerful and knowing. Those things don't change. He doesn't gain new knowledge at any point. He knows everything, and that's all it is. Well, that definition creates problems, because now you have logical contradictions, where things like the problem of evil. So... it's just interesting that's like, there are ways to square it, but every time you attempt to do so, it's like God's the thing that gets chipped away at, until eventually you end up with such a meaningless definition as to either make the belief inconsequential. So, okay, God's the prime mover. He's the one who was the first cause. He went, and that was the Big Bang or whatever, and then the universe goes on its merry way, and God kicks back and, has a beer. Cool. That God's not relevant to me in any way. My belief in him is irrelevant. And I have no way of basically proving that that is the case or not the case. So, why? Why do we care? It's rational, you can believe it, but you've also made the belief meaningless, or at least ineffectual. So, there's just lots of interesting ways that the more you try and reason God, make him reasonable, the less he seems to look like any sort of God that people worship. Which I think is a mark in our favor, going, okay, eventually, or you get like Spinoza's thing, which is, he's not alone in this, it's pantheism. God is reality. Doesn't necessarily even have to be conscious. It is all that is. We are all manifestations of God, in a sense. Okay. How is that distinguishable from there just being stuff? Anyway, so that is the rationality of belief in God. There's a lot there. You can play it down.
That's actually a very interesting topic. I'm just not sure how you guys are gonna bridge it. But that's not
Like we always do, conversationally.
You don't need me.
Religion is wish fulfillment and the atheistic alternatives. I don't really know how you have alternatives to that. Positive atheism, meh. I've already talked about the problem of absolute truth. Delete that. Personal meaning. How do we live meaningful lives without being given ultimate meaning? I think we've covered that pretty thoroughly. If immortality is achievable, is religion still relevant? Are all religions the same? Are some religions more dangerous than others? Fatwas, biblical literalists, and the reestablishment of the temple in Jerusalem.
Well, yeah, we've talked about that a little bit before. We talked about like Sam Harris and the Islamophobia, like why he chooses to focus on Islam.
Yeah.
And why like Buddhists and Hindus are a little less of a worry to us than...
The poisoning of atheism by feminism is one of mine. That's basically one event. One group.
Well, I gotta take Bandit out. Bandit!
Can atheists be true patriots?
Some of the conversations I've had...
I was ignorant about being ignorant. I'm ignorant.
With the religious before is the whole, like... There's an attitude among some religious, I don't think it's widespread, where it's almost like they don't want to know if anything's different or if their beliefs aren't true.
Oh, it's the idea like blind faith is a virtue.
Yeah. How the church throughout history has seemed to, and by the church I mean the Christian church, has tried to like stifle intelligence in the Enlightenment period, and it's like anything that could potentially harm the church is an enemy to the church.
Yeah,
and that includes education. That's why there seems to be a direct correlation with like the reason why they have Catholic churches or Catholic schools and Christian schools is it's like their attempt to monitor and make sure that the information that their children are getting is filtered.
There's a reason you get them young. Let's face it.
It didn't work with me, so.
Indoctrination. That's it's the best recruitment plan.
And it's the same reason your kid will like the football team you like. I mean, it's the sort of thing. Like, you basically get to shape a human being for the first, 5, 6, 7, 8 years of someone's life, almost without question.
Yeah, the only time people screw it up is if you're a bad parent or if your beliefs or your sports preferences directly harm or piss off the child or whatever, because then they'll turn that against you. They'll go the opposite route.
Sometimes though.
Yeah, but that's also usually later. I mean, it can backfire, but it's just the whole idea that religion, I don't think, would be much of a motivating force if it wasn't the thing your parents taught you. When it's literally woven into your mental image of the world, it's sort of a big deal. Which, of course, is why it's hard to leave it. It's like people care about...
But that's one option. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
How about I have the social obligation to those who ruin their lives because of religious belief. Thinking back to like the Great Disappointment and like the hundreds of times there have been, it's the apocalypse or it's the rapture. You have to sell all of your stuff. We're going to be raptured tomorrow. And all these people sold their homes, their farms, everything they owned. And then
the priest says, sorry, I misinterpreted it. It's actually in 20 more years.
And then these people have nothing. So
like that guy who abandoned his entire family.
Yeah.
Talk about having nothing.
Or even like more extreme, people who will kill their entire family. Like, oh, they talk about like Satan's coming. Gotta save you.
Gotta save you.
Like, What is our obligation to people who ruin themselves with those beliefs? Because personally, I just want to be like, told you so. Walk away. Enjoy your field that you're standing in. I have very little sympathy for you. Don't go on welfare, is what I'm saying. How about the scary fact that non-religious people tend to have way fewer kids than religious people?
The idiocracy method of thought.
It's just,
It's really fucking hot in here.
I feel good.
Sorry, my bad. Yeah.
See what
You've
you
been
did
working
there.
because it's fine. I'm wearing a hoodie.
It's nice and cool over here because the windows are open.
No, they're
Windows
not.
are closed.
Well, they were open.
Like
It-
45 minutes ago.
I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier, which is that my bad, it was me. I'm just gonna stick with that one.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get a
Redo.
I'm gonna get a soda and then we'll start.
All right.